Good morning. How are you, good sir?
Bit bleary-eyed. Good morning. How are you?
Me too. I'm 5 hours earlier bleary-eyed than you are. How about that? So last week, I apologize to everybody. I did have to cut out a little early. I was sore. My shoulder's still sore. I just asked you off camera, how are you feeling? How are you feeling?
I'm about the same. The back is not great, but the thing is as well, it does gives you the opportunity to look at what the emotional link might be. So I'm actually working on the emotional cause and doing quite a lot of research of the area of the back where it's painful to actually find out if there's anything that I've got buried subconsciously, if there's anything there that I need to address in the present moment. And I'm concentrating on that. So it is lessening the pain because there are one or two things that are coming out at the minute that I thought was dealt with. They're bubbled up to the surface again. So it's constant work, it's constant maintenance. But truthfully, physically, 52 years of age in the life I've led, I'm getting older, I'm slowing down, and I accept that. So it's just a case of working through mindset changes at the moment. But like we were saying off camera, sometimes the answer to a lot of stuff is it is what it is. You know, we all have our crosses to bear, I think. You know, the price we pay for the lives we've led. I don't let it get me down.
No, I agree. And I tell people all the time, I was a gymnast. I was a competitive swimmer and diver. And I was a cheerleader with a high caliber cheerleading squad that we did a lot of tumbling. We did a lot of crazy stuff. My girlfriend Kay, that I talk about all the time, she was a cheerleader with me. So we did stunts together. But nobody told me when I was younger that it was going to hurt a lot later. I always thought I was like in good shape. I was fit. Now that I'm older and I'm a spiritual practitioner, I really wonder about the reality of all of that pain. So I reference Louise Hay a lot in our little talks on Monday. Trevor's here. Hi, good morning,
Oh,
Trevor.
wow. We've got a star in our midst. Good morning,
Yeah,
Trevor.
well, Trevor needs our help because you have to watch Avid Gardener's live from last night. Somebody said they put the woo on him, but not true. You know what? Just for a minute, let's kind of exit down there because we actually did have that young gal that she was in the comments and she was asking about bringing darker spirits, having tarot and bringing darker spirits toward you. And you and I have the same belief. Like there are people that are dark. There are people that are um not not looking out for everyone's best interest. But do we have darker entities that are going to attack us just at random? And I think no. I think if you are living a good life, I think if you are what I tell my students is, when I teach you how to do this, when I teach you how to be a spiritual practitioner, it is to help and heal. It's not to go to a party and tell somebody's future, and surprise everybody. That's one of the things that I tell people all the time. It's not about being right. It's about guiding right. It's about helping people get to a really good place in their head and their life and their spirit. And for me, I do a lot of the mundane stuff. Like I coach my clients on a lot of the mundane stuff, like their dating life, their work life. And you are like the spiritual surgeon. You get in there and you do the heavy lifting stuff, and you really try and start from the bottom up. And that's not to say that I don't do spiritual work with people. But it just that my client base really does come in and they really want to know about their practical life. When am I going to meet the person of my dreams? How am I going to meet the person of my dreams? How do I find the best possible job? So I think these people that kind of step to the table and they're like, I can put the oogie boogie on you. Nah, it's not possible. It's if you don't believe that, It's not going to come to you. Everyone's Teflon. So, yeah, and my kids are big, but we watched The Princess and the Frog over the weekend. So I love when the Shadow Man comes out. Are you ready? So, so yes, I think that is a good lead in to what we're going to talk about today. So, Rick and I came up with a new 6-week plan. So you're going to get another 6 weeks of Vibe with a Tribe. We were testing out the first 6 weeks to see if you guys enjoyed this, if people were watching it on the replay, and people are. I think this is a great way to start our week off. So for me, one of the things that I've been doing is I am starting to really get into Rhonda Byrne's books, The Secret, The Magic. I'm starting to really get into that because it is manifestation, but it's kind of like a commercialized manifestation. It makes it a little bit easier for people. It doesn't seem quite so oogie boogie. And I think that when we have pain, like Rick has back pain right now, I have shoulder pain right now. When we have pains like that, we actually do manifest those. Sometimes we are manifesting that to kind of slow ourselves down and maybe take a break. A few months ago, I had said to my students, I said, I really just need to catch a really bad cold and go to bed for like 3 days because I had a couple of books that I wanted to read. And 2 of them were like, don't say that. You're going to do it to yourself. Guess what happened? But guess what? I was so sick that I couldn't read the books that I wanted to. So I kind of hoodwinked myself. And one of the things when we're manifesting, and you talk about spirit.com, like I love, or Amazon.spirit, I'm sorry, not spirit.com, Amazon.spirit. You have to be specific. And that's something that I love that you say, Rick. You can't say, and I did talk to one of my girlfriends about this. She's a very practical person. My girlfriend Kathy, I talk about her all the time. She's very practical, and she was raised with Catholic tradition. She's Irish. She's the most Irish person I have ever met, other than Trevor. But she, I told her, years ago, I manifested that I was going to move to California. It started when I was like 13 or 14 years old. David Lee Roth's Just a Gigolo album came out, and California Girls was a cover that he did on it. And I was like, I want to live in California. I'm going to live there. Sure enough, when I was finishing up my university degree, I was doing some of my master's credits. I was fortunate that I could do 2 of them at the same time. I got an opportunity to move to California, and I went. I jumped on it. I just went. Did I move to California in the way that I would have wanted to that first time? Absolutely not. But I did manifest the idea of moving to California. Now, I moved back and forth to California, I think 6 times. I've gone back and forth. Did I ever craft that move in the way that I should have? Probably not. So now I'm working on being really, really specific about the things that I want. And it's one of the things, I got myself a new journal. And I have a whole bunch of manifestation journals that are pre-printed. This one's totally blank. And so what I'm doing is I'm actually writing the story of the next year of my life and what the next year of my life is going to look like for me and for my kids and for my pets and for my house. And I'm being very, very specific about what I'm going to do. I'm incorporating, of course, like the practice of gratitude, which is something that's really stressed in The Secret and The Magic. But I am using, and those of you that don't know me that are coming over from Rick's, I'm also a fiction writer. So I'm using that. I'm fusing my spiritual world and my fiction world, and I'm going to put them together, and I'm going to see, this is an experiment, spiritual experiment for me. So I'm going to see what I can make happen. In the book, The Secret, there's a gentleman that talks about manifesting parking spots. So, you can always aim small, miss small, and see if you can make these little magical things happen. But I think that this is going to be neat. Every day I'm doing, there's 10 things that I'm grateful for. I've already decided what, my majority, my big buckets are going to be, and how I want them to look at the end of the year. And I'm just going to keep drilling down on that every day. And every day I'm going to add to it. So essentially how I'm starting is I'm starting with my personal life, my relationship, my professional life, my collective professional life with the psychic news report that we have with Rob Ackenporth or Sandalwood Tarot Destiny and Tarot and Pause. And what I want my physical life to look like, how I want my physical body to change over the next year. So I'm doing that foresight. I've got that all written down. And then every day I'm going to go over my 10 things that I'm grateful for and why I'm grateful for them. So for an example, I'm very grateful for my husband, Greg Apedi. Everybody knows him on my channel. I'm very grateful for him because I was a single mom. He made our family complete. He turned our family into a nuclear family. We had 2 dogs, we had a cat, we had a very, very rich life that we put together. So that's one of the things that I am grateful for. I'm grateful for my kids teaching me all these neat things. I'm seeing my childhood through my son's eyes, which is really, really cool. So I think, when we start to intentionally look at those things and focus on the good things, more of that's going to come. I say to the universe all the time, more please. Whenever something good happens, I get a string of clients that book. I'm busy for a few days. Instead of crabbing about it and going, oh my God, I'm so busy and I have so much to do. No, thank you. More please. Bring more of that to me. Rick, how do you try and craft your terrestrial life from a spiritual perspective? How do you do that?
My biggest thing recently, and it's the advice I would give straight away, is start to notice synchronicities in your life, whether they're good things or whether they're bad things. Because usually what happens is you're talking about energy attracting the energy, and we've spoken about this quite a lot. So you will often find that what you're focusing on, whether that's mindset, mood, people, experiences, you will get the opportunity to learn more about that. So my obsession at the moment is talking about climbing out of the candy floss machine, right? And my version of the candy floss machine is everything that's perpetuated at us from the media, from other people's viewpoints, other people's standpoints. And I thought, I've done such a lot of work to try and make myself palatable to other people, making, I'm not going to say excuses, but sort of padding out the allowances for the fact that I'm quite gobby, I'm quite vocal. I am going to say things out of place and out of turn. It's always come from a good heart space, but I get it wrong quite often. So I found myself apologizing quite a lot. So yesterday I went into the event that I was at, and I was down to deliver a talk. Now I've delivered the same talk for the last 6 years, talking about my background from a prison officer through to seeing my granddad on a building site where I was working, and then coming full circle to sit in front of you guys now and deliver that. And what I was asked at the beginning of the year was, would I do this talk again? And I suddenly started thinking, right, I get a real buzz when I'm talking and demonstrating to anybody. So the idea behind the talk is talk about the experience and then demonstrate the ability that I've now been lent. So bringing in mediumistic messages, bringing in thoughts, generating those energies, manifesting the feel goods, because essentially therapists are selling good feelings. Right, people there that buy either the mediumistic readings or the tarot readings or the therapy sessions are essentially looking to feel better or find a way of manifesting a better life. And for some unknown reason, people draw to me. So I go in there with this in mind, that I no longer want to deliver what I delivered before. So I just stood there for 30 minutes with a rough idea in my head. Now, I've had presentation training. That all went out the window yesterday. There was all of my quirks and eccentricities, the fact that I go off on tangents and down rabbit holes and things like that. And you know what? It was all well received. So Spirit had brought to me, let's say, a problem. It wasn't a problem, but it was a thought that needed dealing with. I wasn't quite happy with what I was producing, so I changed the script. And what I spoke about yesterday was, if you can get your head round, we're actually spiritual beings choosing, and this is the key thing, choosing to live an earthbound existence. The whole point of us being on this planet, being on this terrestrial plane that we're on at the moment, is to learn lessons so that we can evolve. We've actually crafted the script that we're writing. Now, when we get here into these earthbound things of who said what to who, and you're angry about this and you're upset about that, we're playing all parts. And that's not what we wrote, right? You write the part for yourself. Then people play their parts, because obviously it's scripts coming together. And then you react to their part in the script. And as you go along, you might have to do some rewrites because your storyline is changing. But when you get wrapped up in the drama, you often forget what you're here for. So I was saying to people yesterday, they were coming out with all of these things about what was going on in their lives and all of this lot. And my usual blunt form was, okay, and then what?
And so then what? I love that.
So what life do you want? What do you want to be known for? Because I had a young fella sat with me, and Spirit had this habit of, when you've got somebody there that's really spiritually connected, that put them up in lights or show me a stage or something like that. Doesn't always literally mean a stage. But I said to him, what I feel that Spirit are picking up on you on, what they're bringing in for you. And he agreed. And he said, but I can't do it. He says, because I've got anxiety, I've got depression. And I went, right, look at my face just for a second. I said, what's presenting to you? He said, well, you know what you're doing. I said, yeah, on the surface. I said, but I've had a background since I was 15 years old of depression, suicide attempts, multiple lots of medication. But I came to the point where I wanted something different. So you've got to want something different more than what you're experiencing. And then you start to manifest the life that you want. And like you were saying there, I do it slightly different in the sense of I'm not a journal writer for bringing things in. Mine is quite visual. The thoughts will come in. It's like turning on the tap. Once that tap sort of starts turning up, there's loads of stuff. And then if it gets quite about overwhelming with the amount of things that are coming in, then I've got to write it down. So I'm kind of I'm a winger really, because like yesterday, I suppose it was important to somebody what I said yesterday. Me, I just go in there with this headline in my head that says, want to help. And then ... because that's the next part of the storyline. And what I tend to find with that is, because I've been honest with people, that I can't work out why people generate towards me. So I said to Spirit yesterday, right, because I'm like you, I'm ambitious. I want to promote what we're doing. I want to promote the word of Spirit. I want to help people untangle energetic knots and all of this sort of thing. And I'm going, so how do I put that onto a banner to advertise what I'm doing? How do I manifest that existence that I'm looking for? And they said, just by being you. Yeah, but how do I put that out there? Don't worry. The people will generate towards your energy. They will come towards you. So I'm asking all of these questions, and then they're like building blocks. Because one of the messages I got yesterday was, I don't draw people to a room. I draw people in a room. So you put me in a room, put my energy into a room, and whether it's my big gob, whether I'm loud, whether it's my colours, whether it's my setup, I truthfully don't know about why people draw towards me, but they do. I had one reading yesterday where I ended up with 4 chairs sat round because I just went off. You know, it was just, I'd seen something there that I wanted to bring in for them. I wanted them to help them manifest, and they got a real block around it. So I'm saying, right, you've got anxiety, you've got depression, right? So have I. So as you go past that, right, go forward with all of your things with you. So imagine you're going to have some weight to pick up. So if you have got anxiety and depression and all of the rest of it, I'm not decrying it or anything like that. But what I'm saying is go on despite having these things. And then as you walk your pathway and you start to learn new skills, you may find that you've got stuff there that you can just get rid of because it served its purpose. It's been the subplot in your plot line. And you may feel that it's had its uses, because I freed somebody from an energy yesterday. And what I mean by this, I want to be very specific about this, was something that they've been carrying about guilt and regret. And I said, right, sell it to me. And I said, I don't understand. I said, sell regret to me. I said, but like any good salesman, there's a clause in the contract. You've got to show me that it's worth having. Well, no, I said, is it a nice feeling? No. Right. So you're not doing a very good job at selling me. So I tell you what, because I'm a nice guy, I'm a human, I want to help you get rid of that and bring in some more joy. Would you give it to me? And they went, no. I went, why wouldn't you give it to me? Well, guilt's not a very nice feeling. Who'd want to do that to somebody else? And I went, right. So let me just work this out, because I like to play on this. I'm like, let me just run that through me. Big bald-headed computer here, and let me get out. It says, how long have you known me? I says, and I deliberately picked my clock up, and I'm looking at my clock. I says, so if you've had a reading with me, the chances are I've overrun. So maximum 45 minutes. If you've had 2 readings with me, you've now known me 90 minutes, and anything that you've watched me on social media or anything like that. So let's be generous here and say 4 hours. Right, so they get that part in their head. So 4 hours you've known me. Repeat it so that it sticks in. Right, and this is what my secret to therapy is breaking somebody's state of behavior so that you can just distract them long enough to get them thinking in a slightly different direction. So you bring them back into the room and then say to them, right, how old are you? And I'm not even interested in exact ages because it's absolutely irrelevant. And they'll say, let's say, for instance, 50 years of age. Right, 50 years of age, right. So let me get this straight, that you have helped me potentially take on negativity, darkness, upset, so that I can feel nice feelings and bring in nicer things. Yes? You get them. And I always make sure that I'm going, like, follow my head. Don't listen to the words, follow my head. And as they're going along, I say, so we've got that straight, that you have now put me ahead of you, and you've got 50 years of experience, and you won't look after you first. There's something wrong there, isn't it? So it's getting people to realize self-worth, self-value. Once you want to set your value at the highest level, then anything that comes in below it, because everything is energy, everything that comes in below it, look at it as a lesson. Right, what can I learn from that? I split this up in 3 ways as part of my NLP training. That what we want from our thoughts when we generate them is a good feeling. That's worth remembering, because good memories, pleasant memories. Number 2, a lesson that we can learn from it. That's always worth remembering, because when you're in the dark or in the crap for whatever reason, you've got experiences that will help you lead you out of it. And everything else, and I know I can't swear on here because I'm aware of that now, is I design a big bucket with the letter F on it, right? And in there goes every piece of energy that I can't use, I can't learn from, and I can't get a better feeling from. And it's watching people's realization, because I say, I am not an intelligent man, and I'm not sat here like some sort of guide or guru, but I have to think simple, because my head is often that full of stuff. I want answers really, really quick, because the more I analyze and overthink, the more I get bogged down. So when you're writing your script, write it towards what your character is, not what somebody else thinks it is. So when you're going along and you meet somebody that goes, well, actually, that's not my way of thinking, and our sort of people don't do all of that, right? Okay, your sort of people might not, but I do. So when we're talking about manifestation, write it down, but like Annabelle was saying there, be specific. Order what you want. And then when it comes in, you may find, and this is how the images has been coming in with me, and there are other companies available out there in case anybody's watching, but I imagine it like Amazon delivering a big pile of packages. And sometimes we put the wish on that we want these envelopes, we want this craft stuff, we want these trainers, we want this clothing, and it all comes. We might have forgotten what we've actually ordered. So we then got to undo all of the boxes, take all of the layers off, and go, oh, I didn't remember ordering that. Now, what order does it go in? So I've then got to find a place on the pathway that it goes in. So it's like me with tech. If I get a piece of tech, I'm not very good with any tech because I'm just not interested enough to want to put the hours in to explore what it is. But if I'm looking for this, I've got to utilize this tech. There's a bedding in period. So some of it might be laid down on that path and I'll go, oh yeah, that's brilliant. That's really helped save me that. That was a good idea when I first wrote it into the play, but that needs tweaking. So I've got to edit it. So that bit needs returning and sending back. So never be afraid either when you're doing your manifestation, journaling, diarying, whatever you want to call it, to edit, right? Because what you're looking at is that better feeling at the end of the story. It's that happy ending. But like we know in our lives, life ain't all sunshine and roses. So the more steeled you can be, the more prepared you can be, the more flexible you can be, the chances are that you're going to achieve your goals. And we've all spoken about achieving your goals. It's one of Paul Hutch's big mantras. And like he always says, it's you have to do the prep work. There's sometimes, like we've both done, we do it in slightly different ways, but we've got to go into the ground before we can manifest that next level up. So it's doing the groundwork. That there'll be tools in your armory that you no longer need or are no longer relevant. There'll be experiences, there'll be people. What you do is you bed it in along your path is you will go to people. And this is why, one of the reasons why I said to you about calling it Vibe with the Tribe, because people like people who are like themselves. Right. Yes. So when you put that vibration out that I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, you will manifest more of that type of people, or people see you as, I don't know, an easy target. We're talking about people attracting energies here. If you've got a low vibrational frequency yourself, I'm not saying you're evil or anything like that, but if you've got a low vibrational frequency yourself with depression and anxiety, you will attract like moths to a flame. What I say is put your vibrational frequency higher, no matter how you're feeling, set it above the moths that are going to come to that flame, and then you can start building the building on the life that you want. You do all the hard work by tearing the tower down. So once you tear the tower down, you've got to start rebuilding. So rebuild it in your image.
Right. And it is, you know, again, Paul and Mel say where your attention goes, energy will grow. And I do think there is a great deal of validity to that law of attraction. And I think inner wellness with Gigi had an interesting comment here. Sometimes Gigi likes to see what the universe has for him or her. Is that, do you know Gigi in real life? Okay. For Gigi. So I have a good friend named Gigi, and I always do it with a French accent. It's Gigi. And he's adorable. But so if we ask for too much, we're in ego mind. So, you know, when we're talking about asking the universe for things, like I'm not sitting here going, I really want a Lamborghini. Do I want a Lamborghini? I don't know. Maybe I'd probably be really happy with like Jake Ryan from 16 Candles, that little cute little Porsche that he had at the end of the movie. I love that little car. Just because Jake Ryan was really cute. I'm sure that's not resonating with you, because what 52-year-old man in England would have a crush on Jake Ryan? But you know, when we manifest, and when I'm talking about manifesting, I'm talking about the ease of relationships, the attracting enough wealth to, oh, it's Emma. Hi Emma, thank you. So Gigi's name is Emma. So we're talking about attracting enough to have our lives continue. Where I manifested $100 scratch off the other day. I don't know how I did it. I did it weeks ago. I was like, I had a psychic once tell me that I was going to win the lottery. I was going to have a significant win in the lottery. And so I'm always kind of watching for that. But I got a scratch off one day. I had like an extra $5 on me and I got a scratch off. And I literally folded it and stuck it in my wallet. And the other day, I needed a little bit of extra money just to get a little splurgy thing. And I opened up my wallet and the scratch off fell out. And I said, oh, it was in there for 7 weeks. I'm not even kidding, because it had my gas receipt with it. And I said, oh, I may as well scratch this off now. I never win anything on these. So I scratched it off and lo, I won $100. I was like, okay. And when I went to the lady at the counter, I gave it to her and she had to scan it like 3 or 4 times. It wouldn't scan through and say that it was a winner. And she's looking at it. She goes, I know it's a winner. So, we cashed it out, and my daughter and I said, let's go grab her one of those little bundles of flowers. And it was Friday. I said, we'll give this nice lady, because she scanned it so many times, we'll give her some flowers. So, bought her just a pretty little pink and white bouquet, and went back over to the counter and checked it out. And she goes, oh, these are so pretty. And I said, yeah, I go there for you. Like, happy Friday. Go home and stick them in a vase. And she goes, are you kidding me? She goes, that's great. And I think, when the universe kind of drops something like that on us, it's really important. Like I had friends that were like, buy more lottery tickets with it. I was like, all right, okay. I did. I bought, like 2 regular lottery tickets, but I think it's really important to kind of throw that back into the universe. So even if we are in an ego mind, even if we say, I want to buy a castle in Inverness, and I want to go live the rest of my days there, and be happy in the United Kingdom. Watch me manifest that now. I don't have a problem. I like Inverness. So even if we're doing that, I think it's that intention of good. If I said, I want to restore Castle Miranda. Castle Miranda is, I think they tore it down. It's in Belgium, but it's absolutely fabulous. And say, I want to win the lottery, and I want to buy Castle Miranda and restore it, so that I can have a collection of terrible people, like dealers of substances, that come there and they have a retreat, and we have all kinds of crazy stuff. Yeah, like that's not for the greater good. That's just not for the greater good. I'm giving like a really bad example because I can't think like that. I want to win the lottery so I can go to my high school reunion and, shove it in the face of the girl who bullied me for all 4 years. Like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I think it really does depend on what we're asking for. And I think the measured ask is something that is not being too far into ego, unless you're, asking for $1 bazillion because you want to, arm wrestle with Jeff Bezos. I think crafting a life through manifestation that is good for you and your family is not being too far in ego. Again, I want a Learjet, a Lamborghini, and 20-year-old bikini models surrounding me all day long. Yeah, maybe you're a little bit in ego there, but I think for the most part, if you're trying to craft a good life for yourself, I mean, one of the things, like I really want my business to thrive so that I can help more people. On more than one occasion, I've had someone contact me and say, I'm in a bad place. I'd really love to get a reading from you, but I can't afford it. And my response is, well, let's make an appointment. Like, I want to help you. I'm in this business because I help you. Now, am I doing, free readings all day long? No, I'm not. Reality is I have electricity, I have internet that I have to pay for, I have things that I have to take care of. But, I can give back to the universe. I had a calling to do this, just like you did, Rick. I had a calling to do this. And the main goal is not to be, some carnival act that's sitting in the corner predicting everyone's future. It's to help people live a better life. So if I can guide people to manifesting in a rich life, and I mean an enriched life, then I think that's 50% of my job is to give people the tools and the opportunity to live the best life they can. So I don't know, is that and I'm not being critical of Emma. I do think we do have to be cautious about getting into a heavy ego situation. We don't want to do that. We don't want to become too full of ourselves. And that's one of the things. I don't know, Rick, if you run into spiritual people, you go to a lot of shows and a lot of conventions, so you're around a lot of other psychics. I find that in any industry you have a few like head cases that are just like, oh, I know and you don't. And I had someone step into the chats on a few of my readings and be very critical of what I was doing. And I was like, look, if I'm not the kind of reader and professional that you resonate with, that's fine. You don't have to be here. I would never come to your channel and do what you did. I would never come to your channel and be critical of someone. And in fact, yesterday, one of my viewers, actually it was several of my viewers were directing me towards some other channels. And I gave him a spin last night, and they're tarot readers, psychics, I gave him a spin and they just aren't my cup of tea. I am subscribed to one of them. It's a little too conspiracy for me. It's a little too weird, but if that is what that person thinks is going on with a particular celebrity, I'm not going to get in the comments and go, no, you're wrong. I did a reading on it and you're wrong, because there's so many facets that we can look at people. You can look at Ted Bundy. I'm saying Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy worked with Anne Rice, who was she was a police narrative writer, which is a really cool job. Basically what she would do is she would take the police reports and she would create a narrative so that the new detectives and new police officers that would come onto cases would be able to read a narrative of the case and not have to go through all of the reports and kind of, cobble together the storyline. She worked at a unaliving yourself prevention hotline, those hotlines that you can call up and you can speak with someone. And she worked with Ted Bundy. And it was during his crimes. And he was walking her to her car every night. And he told her, I don't want anything to happen to you. I want to make sure that you get to your car. And she never felt like he was sketchy. She was not his physical type. So that probably was legit. He probably really liked her and was making sure that she got to her car safely. Are these two facets of a person who did really terrible things? Yes. I do think that everyone has multiple faces. I mean, if we interviewed my son right now, he overloaded my washer the other day and almost broke it. And I went absolutely ham on him. He would say, my mother is not a very spiritual person. She screamed a blue streak at me. So, but he almost broke my washer. So, I think we can get different facets of people. I think we can tap into different aspects. The Stranger Beside Me. Thank you, Deb. Yeah, that it was a crazy book. but Anne Rule, fantastic crime writer. But again, I take that in measured doses, because if again, where your attention goes, energy grows. So if you're going to be focusing on, serial people and people that are doing terrible things like that, people that are unaliving other people, you're going to start to generate that kind of energy around you. We don't want to do that. Like you can watch, and that's what I told that young gal that was in the chats. I said, you can watch a horror movie every now and then. But if you're going to watch Insidious, 5 times a day for 6 weeks, you're going to start to see some weird things. You're going to start paying attention to those darker things. And I do think that there is an element of dark and light in the world and in the spirit world, but I do think that the light absolutely surpasses it. In my experience, you can banish spooky things, you can banish spooky people from your life, terrestrial people from your life, just by pushing in that direction and brightening yourself up. I do my white light energy every single day, because I think it's important. I'm working with a lot of different entities, a lot of different individuals, and I want to make sure that I'm as clean and pure as possible. So wow, this was as always, we have like all these roads, like the roadmap to our conversations are wild. So you said you don't like to journal. So what do you do, Rick, when you want to create a change in your life, spiritually, energetically? What do you do?
I look at what the most prominent thought is, and then I look to see whether it's necessary to put all of those thoughts and energy into it. And if it's in my reality, because we were speaking a little bit there about ego and things like that. I have a great friend that I spoke to, not so much now because he's busy with another business, but we all used to talk about, he looked up to Steve Jobs. And there's a lot of people out there that wanted to be Steve Jobs. Now, you can sort of replicate part of Steve Jobs, and you can maybe accumulate the wealth and the connections depending on what's in your social circle or who you meet, and there's the odd bit of chance that'll come in, but you can't be Steve Jobs because you haven't lived his exact life and had his exact experiences. So when I've looked at things, we've all, say myself and my friend, we've always talked about what's actually in your reality. So it's getting the balance between not sort of hamstringing yourself too much by putting in all of these roof bars and all of these ceilings, but also in your reality and around your environment where you live. Is there even a snapshot of what you're looking to bring in, or would it make major structural change? I mean, you mentioned having a castle. I would love to live in a castle, but I'm not going to move from where I am because I don't generate enough money. So my structure would change then. It would be like, oh, well, I've got a house, my mortgage is paid, right? I want it to look like a castle, right? Which is feasible because I could get builders in that could structure it like a castle. Would I be allowed to do it? Highly unlikely, because of where I live and because I live near people. And they're not going to want a castle in their backyard with a bloody great big moat and a fire-breathing dragon. It's possible, but it's not in my reality because of the circumstances I've got. So what I would do with that piece of information is, right, what are my opportunities? What are my alternatives? And then if there's something there that I need to focus on, and I did a lot of work with a lady yesterday, turned a card over, and her comment was, well, that's very general. And I went, yes. And do you know why it's very general? Because that is the information that you're putting out to the universe and the spirit world. It can relate to absolutely anything because I ask you point blank, and make no bones about this, what is your priority at the moment? And she went, well, I'm not really sure because I'm always worried about the husband and the kids. And I went, so is it a job? Is it a house move? Is there an issue within the relationship? Well, I don't know because I'm that busy. I said, you're missing a valuable point here. What is it that you want to focus on? So that's what I do these days, because I get so many thoughts that come through at 100 miles an hour. Sometimes I have to grab them, and I don't know if it's the same in America. I had a lot of counselling when I was younger, because I've had, like I've said before, I go off on tangents. I've had a lot of trouble with my mental health and depression and all of the rest of it. One of the first counsellors that I ever saw spoke about when we used to go to kids' parties when we were little. They used to do this thing where you'd get a piece of cheese and an onion on a stick and stuck into it looked like a foil hamster or a hedgehog, and you'd stick them in, and these spines would have little bits of ham on or a little bit of cheese on, and they were just like grab and eat. Okay. And what she spoke about, she said, so imagine your thought processes like that. You have got one big problem, right? She said, but if you start to take out the little spines with that little bit of goodness, you have a taste of that, then eventually it reduces the size of the big problem. Once you've got down the problem down to a manageable bite-sized chunk, then you'll be able to digest it and process it. So this is stuck in my mind for a lot of years. And of course, me being the storyteller that I am, I've embellished it quite a bit to make it palatable to me. So when I'm doing something, the thought is there in an instant. Sometimes I have to like chuck a rope on it and pull it back, because I go, right, that's just passed already. I've already forgotten it. There'll be the little voice that will come up with this tangent that I'm going to go off on, and then I'll get distracted. But if it's something really important, I call myself a mechanical thought stripper, in the fact that the thought there has got an origin. Do I own the thought, or has that thought been brought into me? So am I the thinker of the thought, or has that thought been generated for a reason? So sometimes you have to actually be in your thoughts to direct and produce the outcome. And sometimes you have to observe your thoughts to see where they're going as a collective. So when the manifestation part comes in, and I've said before, it's kind of like watching, you generate what you ask for. So you've got to be specific. So sometimes that takes more energy than actually drawing all of in what you actually want, the rewards from it. You've got to do your prep work. You've got to do your groundwork. So I've been saying this quite a lot, sort of symbolically, if you like, you can't build a house on shifting sands. You can't build a foundation on shifting sands. So it's really getting prioritized, really getting down what's in your reality, what you can realistically achieve. I'm slightly with the lady's comment there about being an ego. You just to pick up on that, and you ask a question there as well. I must be the naivest person in the world, right? Because 2013, I walked out of the prison service for the last time. I'd done my shift. That was 13 years of knowing that you're going to deal with narcissistic, difficult people, angry people, two-faced people, argumentative, all the negativity you like. And that was just the staff. Don't even get me started on the prisoners. But you start to work through that, and you work away, and you gain acceptance towards it. So when we come out, and I loved your terminology about hippy dippy. So my first time into a show, I'm like, this is great, because a word that still triggers me now when I go anywhere is namaste, because I'm going, right, that's a great word, right? That's lovely, but it's a bit hippy dippy for me. So when I went into the thing, I'm thinking, well, all of these people are going to be lovely, right? Namaste, hippy dippy, you know, they're grounded, they're rooted, they're all nice people. Oh my God. Oh, you're just watching somebody that does a reading with a client, and you go, oh, that was really, really good. Like, who are you? I was just saying, I just found that really interesting. You haven't been in here long enough to be able to make comments like that to me. Do you know what?
Yeah.
Really? Oh, and then that sort of brought out a little bit of my ugly side. So over these last 7 years, while I've been doing it professionally, I've had to sort of balance that out, because people's egos can be out of control. And this is where we align ourselves, right? I've probably got too much of a fear of my ego to allow any of it to come in. I know that we've all got ego, but I stick like you. I want to help people. So I often find that I overrun. I give away stuff for free. I'm hours late for things because I want to make sure that person's at least feeling a little bit better before they go. Because one of the things that frustrates me with people that teach and do demonstrations is if they generate an emotion within somebody and then produce that to look at, that they don't give them any practical tools on how to solve it. So in a demonstration, you've got literally seconds or even a couple of minutes at the most to get your point across, and then you're moving on. Meanwhile, that person goes back into their real life and they've got this emotion to deal with constantly around it. So before I go off on a massive tangent here and bring myself back neatly there, that if I'm looking at generating something new, for me, I need the ending. You know, when we put in the death card, because if I get the death card moment there, I know I'm done with it, because the death card opens up the space for the new beginning. So I've got to, for me, it's like a sword fight in my mind at times, right? Why am I manifesting a new beginning? Am I really done with that? Or is it just because I want a distraction from thinking about that? So it's priorities. And when you go on any journey with anything, it's about the kit that you pack to go with you. So it's making your energetic load as light as possible, but having the most useful tools as you go forward. So I don't journal and I don't plan. I wing it quite a lot. I really am the what do you call it? The fool on the tarot journey, because I go out with that open-minded, open-hearted thing.
Your little stick.
Yeah.
And
while I'm walking along, I'm over-analysing, I'm overthinking, I'm over-dramatising. And then when I look round from my distraction, I'm usually where I'm meant to be. It's a weird way, and I wouldn't advocate it as being a good way of doing it, but that's how my life's been. Now, if I was to make major structural changes to that, I would be very slow, because I'm 52 next week, and if you looked at saying today is that start line for that new beginning and that manifestation, I've got 51 years, 364 days of what I've previously done. And it might not all have worked, but it's got me to this point here and now. So it's a safe bet that if I keep using them strategies, I'm going to be okay. But to bring in anything new, I've got to think entirely different. And this is where the ego can be a problem, because the ego just thrives on the drama. That's all it's interested in, is the drama of it and putting things towards you that'll upskittle you a little bit. So sometimes it's just drowning out the monkey chatter, getting your big girl pants on. And I mean, for everybody, boys and girls, getting your big girl pants on, diving in and having a go and structuring it as you go along.
Yeah, for sure. When's your birthday, by the way?
Friday, I'm led to believe.
What? You're led to believe? Wait a minute.
Because I'll tell you how my mind works. I've got back from a show. So today's kind of like recovery, and I made a point of hydrating this weekend and eating properly, because when I get going, I don't think about drinking, I don't think about eating. I end up with a massive energetic hangover on the Monday. Yeah. This week, I'm tired this morning, but I feel a lot better because I've had somebody bringing me tea all weekend, which has been absolutely amazing. Big shout out to Rob for energetic energy going out into the universe, because he's been awesome for bringing me tea. And then look at what's on the calendar. So I have got 2 live events this weekend where I'm doing stand-up. So already my energy is going there.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like, oh, it's your birthday. Oh, is it? Right. Well, that's not in my mindset, because I'm not working for anybody else there. And that's where I concentrate on, is working with that spiritual energy. So at some point, I will have to switch off one day. So I'm out Tuesday night, Thursday night and Saturday night. And in between is my birthday. So I'll have to switch off in between so I can like get back down to normal Earth level and not operating in La La Land, and coming back there and experience my birthday, which so to me,
the 3rd or the 10th?
The 3rd.
So that's Friday.
Yeah, it's just I'm not being horrible here. I'm just not. It's just not important to me. It really isn't. It's I don't know. When people say it's a milestone, I think I'm not altogether sure. I think it's a millstone. That if you get into the idea of I'm this amount of years of age, well, you're not really. You're that amount of years of experience, and as you build up that experience, You'll have things around you that work for you, things around you that trigger you. I mean, I was working with somebody at the weekend there that went, sorry, can't go any further with that. That just gives me the ick. And I went, all right. So you change tack with it, because this is about tapping into other people's psyche and their energy and saying what works for you. And then I'll go along that journey with them. And I find with me that I've got so many characters inside my head that they're always off on tangents. I did something yesterday where, if you can visualize out there, guys, that somebody walked in with a bag of squirrels in the bag, they dropped them on the floor, and the squirrels went everywhere. And all little parts of my storytelling, psyche, tarot work, mediumship, guidance, and all of the rest of it went chasing off after them. We brought them all back, got them into the bag, and then when we're looking into the bag, trying to concoct a story that fitted, like, oh my God. So when I come home, and I've done 7, 8, 9, 10 of those over the weekend, my head is like porridge. So yeah. I don't have time. I don't have time to think about my birthday. I love presents, and I love all of that sort of stuff with the family when they come in, but I'm not bothered. And I'm being serious about that. I don't identify with the number. So my body does when I get up in the morning, when we're struggling with the back and clicking and
things
cracking.
Start clicking as you get out of bed. You sound like a crab going into the next room. No, I'm kind of the same opinion. Like I'm the youngest of 4. So my birthdays were, I was not the most, there was nothing very interesting about me. I mean, I am very interesting, but there's 3 girls and 1 boy. So my birthdays were not a big hullabaloo. Like, my parents had done everything. When I went to college, they dropped me at the curb. Like, no one was crying when they dropped me off. So a few years ago, my birthday is July 12th. So it's smack in the middle of summer. And I was like, it's really like the peak of summer. So it's all downhill after that. So I invented the 12 days of bad decisions. And they started on July 12th, because my birthday was kind of a damp squid every year. So I invented the 12 days of bad decisions on social media. And so what I would do is every day from July 1st to July 12th, I would put out a call to action for all my friends. And Sylvia's daughter's July 1st, another Cancer out there. So and they would be like these really funny things. Like, I would say, don't wardrobe plan for the day, or you can't use any hair products, or it's eyeliner free day. Like, ladies, you know what that is. And they were all like very girly kind of things. Have a beer and a cheesesteak for dinner. Like, they were just really fun things. And I actually got so many people that participated in them. Gregopedia did not like them. He was like, it's kind of dumb. I'm like, yeah, but it's really fun. Like, we're really having a good time. He never participated, but it's, you have to do what you have to do. I did get over that after a while. I was like, all right, this is speaking of ego, that was like a big ego thing, like I would have 12 days of celebrating me. I have an aunt who's born in August, typical Leo, and she celebrates the entire month, and like doesn't do housework. Like, she really goes for bore on it. But I think birthdays, for you, I always kind of qualify you as your like soul age. Like your spiritual age, you're kind of like in that mid 30s spiritually, and you're just like, rah, with your flaming sword and, fighting the good fight for everybody. Me, I'm not sure how old I am spiritually. I know that sounds terrible. Like, I should really like kind of pin this down. Some days I feel like the little old crone in the woods, the little Italian Nona who's a little chubby and has an apron on, and she's doling out good advice. And then sometimes I feel like just like this crazy timeless being of light. So, I'm not really sure what my spiritual age is, but, we kind of roll with that. The meat puppet is winding down and getting older every minute of every day. But I do think we can counter the march of time, let's put it that way, with some manifestation. I do think that we can. I'm going to do a program with my girlfriend Kathy, because Kathy, she has like 4 side jobs, and one of her side jobs, she works for a cosmetic company, and I was explaining to her the magic of makeup and how we can do manifestation when we're doing our facial treatments and that sort of thing, when we're doing makeup. And she was like, wow, like, can we do a show? And I was like, yeah, we'll do a show. So I'll promote her business, and, you know, we'll talk a little bit about my philosophy about how, when we're putting makeup on, we really are putting a glamour on us. And if you use your energetics, you're going to be able to get a little bit more result out of that, in my opinion. But let's do this. Let's do this, Mr. Rick. So, principles of manifestation in The Secret, and this isn't exclusive to The Secret. This the book, the Rhonda Byrne book. This really is. You can go to Dr. Joe Dispenza. Everybody talks about gratitude, turning the scope of lack. I don't have enough money. I don't have a big enough house. I don't have a nice enough car. I don't have I don't have a spouse. I don't have a date. I don't have a boyfriend, a girlfriend, whatever. I don't have a dog that I want. When you focus on the lack, and there's an elemental sadness that comes along with not having that, when we focus on what others have. So I think like the Kardashians is such a great place to look at this, because they live such a life of excess and glamour and luxury, that when you're sitting in your 1-bedroom apartment and your rent is late and you don't have a car and you've got a crummy job in a cube someplace, you're going to sit there and you're going to go, oh, like, everything's so great there. You're focusing on their manifestation. You're focusing on what they have. And the reflection is that you're looking at what you don't have. And it's like, you turn it off. You go, oh, this really stinks. Like, I have a really crappy life. I don't have 45, pairs of Louboutins. I don't have, a display of, $45,000 Birkin bags in my closet. It really gets to be a bummer. So I think looking at the things that we have is really, really important, and honoring them for what we have. We have a huge yard. We live on 1.25 acres. And a lot of our friends, when we bought this house, were gobsmacked when they got into the backyard, because the house is on like the first third of the property. And they would just walk into the back and they were like, oh, this is amazing. We don't have this. And initially, like, we had looked for a house with a big piece of property. We wanted a small house on a big piece of property. We wanted some space between us and the neighbors. And I didn't fully appreciate it until the pandemic. And it was then that I said, you know what, every day during the pandemic, I woke up and I was like, I am so grateful, because there are people that live in high rises right now that are locked in a box this big. There are people that have homes in little neighborhoods, and their neighbors are like this, and everybody's home. And that would have driven me nuts. For us, every day we got to go out into a park-like setting and walk around. We got to walk our dogs around. I was so grateful for that. I absolutely was so grateful for that. And, I think sometimes when we're staring some of the things that we have in the face, like that, like, I could complain all day long, like, oh, it's a pain in the butt to mow the lawn. It's a pain in the butt to keep the landscaping back. I have to mulch. I have to mulch all my trees. I could complain about that all day long. The flip side of it, and that's really what we have to do, and I do this with a lot of my clients, you have to look at what you have and the good that's in it. I have a dog who adores my husband. She tolerates me. Despite me, having a background in dog training, she tolerates me. The other day, and I love her. I don't want you to think I don't love her. Greg says it all the time. You don't even like her. I do love her. She's just very, very challenging because I'm used to working with, I always had working dogs. I had Rottweilers, German Shepherds, I always had dogs that were engineered to work with me. And Raven's a border collie, and she's like, I'm going to do whatever I want. Like, you don't know what you're doing. I know what I'm doing. So she's very, very bright, and she was engineered to work independently. So the other day when I was icing my shoulder, there were some kids came over, and so she was creating a ruckus, and her back is still a little bit injured. And I said, oh my God, Raven, just get on the couch and shush. And she walked over to the couch. She jumped up, gave me a dirty look, sighed at me, and then woofed every couple of minutes because she knew the boys were outside, but she knew she didn't have to go over there. And I have to say, the training that I did put in her manifested in that moment. It only took me 7 years, but it manifested in that moment. So, she, and last night, I gave her a bath yesterday and gave her a really nice blowout. She looks beautiful. She looks all fluffy like a wolf. And, last night we got in the bed together. I gave her a little CBD chew because it's for her back and the back ends. And she went to sleep. And after a little while, she rolled over and, reluctantly cuddled with me. So I was like, okay, this is good. But, that's one of the things I'm going to manifest, a better working relationship with her. It's, one of the things that I want. So let's talk about, because when I sent over some of the curriculum for the next 6 weeks to Rick, one of the things I wanted to give you guys a call to action. And I think it's great that we're hanging out. It's great that we're lifting up. It's great that we're talking about spiritual repair work and spiritual, blow up. So I think, giving you guys some, I know we talked about having a toolkit, but giving you guys a project, I think is a really cool idea. I would like everyone to start keeping a gratitude journal. Now, do you have to get something like this? No, absolutely not. Because one of the things that Mel from the Fitness Hutch, Mel coached me on this. She said, when you write your wins down at the end of the day, which is a form of gratitude, saying the things that I got right today, the things that went well today, instead of going, today was a shite show. I woke up in the morning, I dropped my toothpaste, I dropped my toothbrush, I fell in the toilet, that happened, then my shoelace broke. Like, you could go through all the bad things that happen. But at the end of the day, if you catalog your wins, and what Mel told me, she was like, put them on Post-its and stick them on the refrigerator, the cabinets, whatever. And I was like, my OCD will not allow me to do that. We are a maximalist in our house, but I just don't want Post-its hanging up. I found that there's a program on my computer that I can do Post-its on my desktop. I can do virtual Post-its on my desktop. So I was like, oh, this is great. So I've been doing that. I have, one color for reminders of things that I have to do. And then I have another one that I'm going to catalog my wins for the day. I can transpose them into this. I can save the Post-its in a little file. I can do all that. I think that's a start to starting to catalog those wins and starting to, kind of ease yourself away from the egoism if you're worried about that. Cataloging those wins, I think, are great. So the call to action, keeping a gratitude journal, write one thing that you're grateful for on your virtual or your actual Post-it. In my notes, it says write 5 things down. If you can come up with 5 things today, great. I tried to do 10 and I came up with 14. So I think, aim small, miss small. I love the aim small, miss small. But write down 5 things you're grateful for. But the important thing is, why are you grateful for them? So I'm grateful that I have food to put in my mouth. I'm grateful that I have food to nourish my family. But why? You know, I'm grateful I have food so I can nourish my family. There's your why. I think the why is really important. I think that is what also helps us stay away from that egoism. You know, so just kind of writing that down, and it could be the same 5 thing every day. Like, it could be the same 5 things. I could say, I'm grateful for Raven because she keeps me alert when there's noises outside of the house. She lets me know when all the teenagers come to visit. I can say I'm grateful for my kids because they teach me patience. They teach me how to be calm. They teach me, they teach me to be more childlike as an adult. So, I think that writing those 5 things down, and then you can read them or you can speak them. Speaking them into the world is really something that you're going to find your items that you're grateful for. Sometimes you need to kind of adjust them a little bit when you read back through them or when you read them out loud. So I think call to action for everybody, and we'll talk about it next week. We can talk about it in the chat. You know, you guys can say the things that you're grateful for, but let's start to build upon things that we're grateful for, practical things that we're grateful for. And we could say all day long, I don't know if they said this in England, Rick, but like our parents would always say, like, when we didn't eat in the 70s, there's starving children in China. Okay, doesn't really mean anything to a 5-year-old. I'm just saying, they don't even know where China is. I think just creating that example of gratitude. Like, I asked my son yesterday what he was grateful for, and he came up with one thing, and I said, "That's it? Like, that's all you're grateful for?" And he goes, "No, but you asked me for one thing. I got plenty of stuff I'm grateful for, but you asked for one, I gave you one." It's like, okay. So I think that is a good place for us to start with this, to create some kind of catalog of gratitude for ourselves, and some kind of accountability for it. So there you go. And upright and breathing, even if you are a little hunched over with your back, because I know I'm walking around and like one shoulder is like a little weird, and then when it tightens up, I turn into a pterodactyl or a T-Rex on a pterodactyl. But food in your belly and a roof over your head, everything else is a bonus. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I think, being grateful for that is wonderful. And then Dawn says, tune into, oh, that's great. Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, Dawn. So, and that actually is one of the things when I was doing my gratitude list yesterday, meeting you, Rick, through the Hutches, meeting the Hutches, that's another one. And I met all of you guys through Trevor. When Shelly and I started Fortune Cookies together in 2020, after everyone was locked down, one of the things that I had said to her was, I really want to have a show with a bunch of psychics. We all have a bunch of different ideas, and wanted kind of look at different world events, different topics, possibly even different individual clients, and do that. I think that would be really cool. And I sat on that for such a long time, and it wasn't until I met all of the pieces of the puzzle, you and Rick and Thor and TD and Deborah. Rob, I've always known. I've always been trying to hoodwink Rob into working with me, Rob Akinpora. It wasn't until I met all the pieces of the puzzle that I was like, you know what? Like, now is the time. Now is the time. It took me 3 years to make it happen. but I think the time was right. And you and I, we always talk about it. This is the Psychic News report is this genesis, this thing that's going to turn into something really cool. And we're there. Things are happening. So I'm going to have another meeting with Thor today. We're going to do another featurette. I really think we have to be patient. The universe is not going to manifest instantly for us. My lottery ticket or the scratch off that was in my wallet, 7 weeks. Now it was a winner when I bought it 7 weeks ago, but I didn't need it until 2 days ago. So, we have to, and the way Joe Dispenza says it, in one of his meditations where you're opening up to new opportunities and new possibilities, what he says is at the end of that meditation, and the universe is going to bring this to you in a way that's right for you. So it always makes me a little bit nervous like that because, the monkey's paw, I don't know. Do you know the story of the monkey's paw?
No, you covered it before, and I wasn't sure, but I was fascinated. I'm fascinated by things like that because I've said to you before that I'm heavily influenced by Aesop's fables with the story, and the moral to the story. So it sounds along my wavelength.
So the monkey's paw is a fiction story. It's a couple, a mother and father and son, and their friend comes to visit from India. He was traveling. And he brings him a monkey's paw and he says, "Oh, this will give you wishes. I'll give it to you." And so they put it on the mantelpiece, and the husband says he wishes for $200 or 200 pounds. And the monkey's paw twists in his hand. He drops it. He goes, "Ah!" The next day, their son is at work and falls into the machinery. And the bosses come and give notification, and they hand him $200 for the insurance that they had on their individual employees. This was a long time ago. So then the mother, in her grief, takes the monkey's paw and wishes for her son to come back a few days later. And they hear him pounding at the door, and the father grabs it and wishes him to go away because he fell into the machinery and was going to be all mangled and not good. So, very interesting little story. So we have to be careful about what we wish for, and we have to be patient. It doesn't work as fast as the monkey's paw, but we do have to be patient. So the grind down, the gratitude grind, let's call it gratitude grind. That gratitude grind, we have to really do that over time. There's so much input for us that we're not enough. Again, like watching the Kardashians, like we're not enough. We're not successful enough. We didn't have that Kardashian money, the seed money to start with. They didn't get there in a day. They didn't. We're not going to get there in a day. If our life is cluttered, if our life is chaotic, if we're in debt, we didn't do that in a day. So in order to get out of it, we have to really infuse our life with positivity and gratitude, and then we get there eventually. So it's not going to happen like that, but it will happen eventually. So you have to believe. You have to believe in that. You have to believe in the magic. The magic is going to work. So next week we'll definitely talk about in the comments. You guys bring in the comments the things that you're trying to manifest, the things that you're grateful for, and we'll kind of do a little bit more. I mean, we're gonna kind of go back and forth. This isn't really a linear experience or a linear curriculum that we came up with. We're gonna go back and forth, and we're gonna do some neat stuff. So that being said, I feel like I talked so much today. The tea must have been brewing.
This is. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. That this, for either of us, wouldn't be as good for us if it was sort of tied down. I've never been very good with scripts and like being penned in corners because I'm too much of an individual free thinker that it's like I try to explain to my dogs when they get underneath my feet. My mind is often 20 miles ahead of the action. So I often trip over things because I'm already thinking that next step ahead. So sometimes just doing this off the cuff thing is for me personally, it's absolutely spot on. And I'm a big believer that when we do these sort of events, that whoever talks needs to talk, and we've got the sort of personalities that are exactly the same. So it's like two big energies filling a screen. At one point, one's got to step back to let the other in, and it's just finding that balance, isn't it? I mean, we've been doing this six weeks, but you're your age, and I'm my age with our experiences, and what we're doing on all of the projects that we're doing is finding the grounding point, finding how you mold in. There is actually strategies when I can't remember it all, but it was in my NLP training about group settings with storming, norming, and reforming, and all of this sort of thing. So there is actually a process when you're doing anything about the groups forming, how people sort of find their place in the hierarchy, when different dynamics are introduced to the group. So there is actually research that you can actually do on all of that sort of thing. But for me personally, I'm just happy to be, I mean, I love it. This is, we talk about gratitude, and it's a good tie up for me. What I'm absolutely grateful for is that I get paid for talking, right? Something that I love doing. I get paid to show off, right? I get paid to sit with people and help, which gives me such upliftment when I get the feedback. The people out there, and we spoke about darker and lighter energies there. The amount of praise that I get is amazing. And like with anything, the dark and light is there. That's our reality. And I said to somebody the other day, they were doing their readings and they'd had a bad one by their own admittance, not for me to say one way or the other. And I went, so? I says, the reality of this situation is when we step out onto that stage that we're on, however we're doing it, whether it's on here or out in real life, that we're going to encounter people, because we're in a niche market, whether we accept it or not, we're in a niche market, that there are going to be huge opposers out there, because whether they like it or not, they're closed off. They're not open to the possibility that their little world might not be as direct as they like, as sort of solid as they believe. And anybody that's coming into that energy is an invader. So I said, I looked at it like this, because when I first started, and I ain't been doing it even a percentage of the time you were doing it, but my background's completely different to yours. So when I came into this, I was like, oh, sensitivity. Oh, no, don't do all of that emotional rubbish. No. I keep everything blocked and in a box. And then when you realize that you look out there and the moon can affect you, and somebody's mood set and mindset when you're an empath can affect you, and all of this sort of business, I was like, I've had to change my mindset. So I was like, right, okay, so I am sensitive to criticism, but using my own technique. And then what? So I looked at it mathematically, because I look at things with, and I've said this many times before, so forgive me for repeating this, that I work with an old army acronym called KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. And that's not against anybody. That is so that I can understand it at a simple level, so I can extend it to a simple level and pass that across, and hopefully it's received at that base level. So when I sort of feel about the emotions and you attract criticism, right, that is part of your contract with the outside world, that there will be people out there who will disagree with you. This is where sometimes you have to get disciplined with yourself and go, right, if you can't take criticism, or you can't take another people's opinion, you're going to have to get out of it, because you're never going to get away with it. And I suddenly thought, right, so if I went, I mean, I don't have a lot of private clients, to be perfectly truthful about that. I do a lot of events, and my clients come in at events, but private readings, I get the odd few coming in. I know for a fact that when we get going with this business that we're in, that there will be more, but that's a manifestation for the future. But right now, truth and honesty. So if I start splitting that down into percentages, I would say high 95%. And based on what I've got to include in that 95% is that no news is good news. So you'll get the compliments, you'll get all of the people that will say all of the lovely things, and the people that don't come back to you are usually okay with it. They don't want to say anything like praise because it might be difficult for them. I don't know, or they might not feel that they don't want to hurt your feelings or whatever. So good high 95%. 5% might offer criticism, or you should be doing, or you didn't get it right. Right, but that's based on their opinion. So I started then splitting that further down into numbers. So if you averaged out over the course of a year where I do a lot of events, and I said I read for, let's say 200 people, multiply that by the 7 years that I've now been doing that, that's 1,400 people. All right, and then start splitting that down into your 95% and your 5%. You know, the averages are pretty good, and the thing is that highly likely that you're going to get a good comment rather than a bad comment. So I said to it, it's one of them. You haven't got it wrong. If you're true to yourself when you're delivering your work and you're delivering your word, whatever thing that you're into, stick to your truth.
Mm-hmm.
Just because somebody else has said you're wrong, highly unlikely. And in my experience, it shows the more that people object, the more that people push you away, the more that they go defensive, the more highly likely you've hit the mark.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I've had to learn, and it's difficult for me. It really is, because the sulky 5-year-old comes out and mean, right then, if you don't think I've done any good, I'm not playing anymore. I'm taking my ball home. And I have had those moments. And then you'll get a message a year down the line and going, oh God. Oh, really? Yeah. You said this to me, didn't you? I went, I did. What I said to you was not taking any compliment for the fact that I've got it right, but I was trying to prepare you, and you didn't listen. Right? What's happened to you now is absolutely irrelevant to me. I did my job at the time. I'm sorry that you've had to learn it in this difficult way, but I take no pleasure in that. So again, this is about manifestation as well, because you can soon manifest a life that you'll put up with, because it won't challenge you. It'll be okay. I call it being in a state of me. You know,
yeah.
There's no wrong with it, but it's not really great anyway, either way, because it's not fulfilling. So it's finding your slots in life. And this is where we've spoken a lot about on previous programs about synchronicities. And this is what I think we're finding as well, Anna, that we're putting things together that are planting seeds. And for me personally, as a spiritual worker, it gives me no greater thrill when you give somebody the tools and a packet of seeds, and then explain to him, right, I want you to take that away with your knowledge, whatever you've got. If you're an expert gardener, then you're going to get some fantastic blooms. If you're not, consider this, that if you've got a plant pot, put in a packet of seeds, checked on it every 3 or 4 weeks, kept it in darkness and didn't nourish it, could you expect any growth whatsoever? And everybody gets the concept, well, no, you couldn't. Well, that's like your life. You've got a packet of seeds in a plant pot that need light, that need nourishment, they need encouragement, they need growth. And here's the key to it, because once they start growing and they grow outside of their pot, they're outside, you're outside your comfort zone then, so you've got to get a bigger pot. When you go into a bigger pot, you've got more stuff to take with you, you've got more stuff to fill it in with. You've got outside environments, outside factors to consider. So when you start working with all of that, you can see that we need to get into the mindset, and that need is a command word, and I understand that, but we need to get in the mindset that as we're in a play, right, there's places in the on the stage where we can be seen, right? We can be seen in the wings, where life is then passing us by and we're not in control, or we can actually be star of our own stage and screen. So get your mind over these next couple of weeks from being a cameo appearance in your own production to standing center stage. And I know it's not easy. I'm getting that, because I'm going through the emotional ringer with a lot of things at the moment, that I'm having to tear stuff down, because it's worked for me up to now. Now it needs challenging. And to change that, I've got to challenge my mindset. But what I'm doing is I'm owning the production, right? I'm co-creating my reality. And if you're invited into my onto my stage and into my play, then I've got to approve you and I've got to write you into my script. So
yeah, I think a lot of people forget how much agency they have over their life and over the characters that they invite on the stage with them. I think they lose sight of that and they go, well, I'm being victimized by this person, or the universe hates me. You know, it's like what was his name? The robot in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It hates me. God bless Alan Rickman. You know, I think. You know, and how easy is it for some people to say, well, I'm just, you know, a victim of fate. I'm just a victim of, you know, Zeus. Zeus has it out for me, you know, whomever you ascribe to. You know, when you tell them that they have agency over it, and some people don't like that. I'm sure you've experienced this with clients. Like, they don't like that. They're like, you know, you gave that example of somebody where you said, hey, this is what's going to happen. And then they come back a year later with their tail between. They're like, okay, this is what happened to me. You know, you talked about it, but I said you didn't have it. You know, I think, you know, when you highlight how much agency and give them some level of responsibility, some people are going to embrace that and they're going to go, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to, you know, I talked to Greg about doing a gratitude journal and he was like, yeah, I really like that idea. And I'm like, okay, well, you know, if he sees me doing it, which it'll be in my manifestation journal that Greg will start cataloging his wins and his manifestations. You know, he may see that it starts to work for me. Maybe it'll start to work for him. Maybe it'll be something that he'll warm up to. You know, I do have to kind of drag my family to the woo-woo stuff sometimes. You know, sometimes they, you know, I get eyes rolled at me, but you know, I think letting people know that they have agency, that energetically they have agency. Like, you may not have the best job right now, but energetically you can create a pathway to that. Some people call it jumping timelines. You know, you jump to another timeline where you're more empowered, you're a different person. You have more agency over your terrestrial life, but it all starts in that energetic life. It all starts with that energetic being. You know, you really need to harness all the magic that's in the universe and grab onto that. And how we do that is through joy and gratitude. You know, that's really the building block that we need. That's our foundation. That's our, you know, our piers into the ground, our steel girders that we need to work with. And I think you are so incredibly gifted at doing that because you come to the table with very, very no nonsense, very practical kind of, and then what, you know, so you built a castle on sand and it's sinking now. And then what? So what do we do? What do we do now? I love that kind of attitude. I love that kind of presentation with people that are seeking guidance. I think that it's really important to do that, to show that mirror and say, here, you know, take a good look. This is what you're looking at. You know, if you keep focusing on the fact that your, you know, husband goes to the bar on the way home and then winds up going home some floozy from the bar. If you keep thinking that that's going to happen, it's going to happen. And how many times do you have somebody saying, I don't know about you, but you know, young girls in their 20s, he's going to cheat on me. He's going to cheat on me. He's going to cheat on me. 6 weeks later, guess who cheated on her? You kind of made that happen. So, you know, just, I think that this is a great place for us to start to build that energy. I mean, I want, and as you do, I want everybody to walk away from this and go, oh my God, I'm going to have the best week. I'm going to have a great week. It's going to be, you know, rain or shine, I'm going to have a fantastic week. If it rains, the flowers are going to get nourished. If it's shining, I can get out there and I can pull some of the weeds and make the flower beds look good. I just want everybody to really just kick off the week and be happy and have some fertile soil to make some cool stuff happen. And I think this is a great way to do it. So anything you would like to add before we hit the 8 a.m. hour here?
No, I think that was a lovely tie up there. It's nourishing your own growth, and to grow, you've got to have the nourishment. So it's a full circle thing there. So what you plant is what you will yield. And when I walked and did my walk this morning with my dogs, because my dogs haven't been out for a few days with me being away for the 3 days, is that Spirit came through with this lovely little message, and I ain't quite deciphered it yet, but I'm going to pass it on anyway. Sometimes we have to shake the tree to see what fruit falls out of it. And I'm like, yeah, okay. So that's a sign for me that if there's changes needed making, sometimes we need a shake up. When you've got people there that are defensive, they'll want to, they'll see it as a threat because you're at their foundation. So my thought is, and this is my last thought on this one, is even if you're in a state of distress or unrest at the moment, don't get bogged down by it. Don't overthink it. And please, please, please don't make allowances. Don't be comfortable in your discomfort. Look at the bigger picture there as you step out of it. Don't get into that mindset that I've got to experience this. You don't, because life is about a series of choices, and whatever we're going through, the next one's surely coming around the corner, because that's life, isn't it?
Good. So I just put our deliverables up there and our call to action. So this is Vibe with the Tribe. We're gonna talk about it in a higher level, kind of generalized view. Everybody, try it. Try. If you can't do 5 things, if you can't do 10 things, do one thing that you're grateful for and focus on that for the week. I am grateful that I have my cat Pusheen, who was rescued from Kuwait because the Middle East is going bananas right now, and she's too wonderful to have been there. I'm so grateful that she's here. I love our cat. We have 3 cats, and I Pusheen is my favorite. But focus on one thing and pour some energy into that. It's 3 minutes a day. You write something down, stick the Post-its up, pull up your Post-it app and write it down, stick it on your desktop. It's just a small moment to be grateful and thankful for some things. And we're going to build upon this. We're really going to build upon it. We're going to have you guys stretch your energetic legs. We're going to really kind of push the limits on this. By the end of the next 6 weeks, what I think we should do is we should have some manifestations from some of our viewers. I think they're going to see some changes. It may be $100 scratch off lottery ticket like I had in my wallet. It may be that all of a sudden somebody calls you up and says, hey, you know what? I have this amazing job opening. Do you know anyone who will fit in it? And you're the perfect person for it. That may happen. You may, again, Dr. Joe Dispenza, says sometimes the universe gives you things that are a little bit different. You may have somebody crash into your car and the insurance company pays you out and you get a new car. Like something like that may happen. Be the change that you want to make. Absolutely. I think that's it. And see that vision, see the reality of what you want to do. We do it in a general forum here. But I did put up our contact information. If you would like to get personalized, specialized counseling from Rick, you can contact him by email at rickpaul007@gmail.com. And and I didn't even put up my whole email. So let me do that again. I did get your email right, didn't I?
You did, yeah. No, actually, I'm looking at that going, no. Check the date. I'll put that on as well.
Wait, What is your email? Let me get.
Bear with me, and I'll stick that up there. He says, checking his glasses.
Oh, medium Rick. I'm so sorry. I need more tea. I didn't even get my website, but my website is under my name, so you guys can see that. It's www.fortunecookiestarot.com. Oh, good Lord.
We need tea, Annabelle. That's a good place to stop.
I think so too. I'm a mess, but you can contact either of us for personalized counseling. You know, we absolutely can do that. I can't copy and paste. I'm a mess today. No, I'm not a mess today. I'm doing great. I'm just trying to type. You know, one of the things that's happened to me, this shoulder is inflamed, but this finger, I don't want to flip you off. But my middle finger is totally inflamed right now. It's a mess. So I don't know why I didn't hit it on anything. It's just a mess. But I'm going to fix that today. I'm going to decrease the inflammation and go have some fun. I'm going to go meditate after this. I've got a full day after that. So as always, this has been awesome, Rick.
Don't forget the Psychic News Report live on Thursday.
On Thursday,
I won't
Rick's
be
gonna
there,
have the day off,
but tune in anyway.
Tune in anyway, because whatever's in the news, we're going to tackle it. But
It will be brilliant.
You know, we will have more featurettes. Thor and I will do a featurette today, but we're going to have more and more featurettes that, you know, people can kind of fill in during the week. So they'll always be, everything's on the video list, so people can enjoy that. But it's great fun. This is a great start to our week. So today, right now, when we log off, write down 5 things that you're grateful for. Or if you can only think of one, write down one and then fill it in the rest of the way during the day. And you're just going to focus on that for the rest of the week. Every day, you're going to look at that list and you're going to read it off to yourself. And you're going to say to the universe, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for this. I really appreciate it. It's great to have. So I will be adding on my list, Vibe with the Tribe, and all you wonderful viewers. I love my time. I love to get unadulterated time with you. And, you know, when we're in the group, but this is great. I love having one-on-one time with you. So thank you, good sir. Everybody else, until next week, we're going to talk about harnessing that power of gratitude. So just get in the habit of being grateful for a few things this week. And next week, we're going to talk about how we put a leash on it and we really make it work for us. Okay. Everyone, we'll see you next week. Vibe all day. Bye, guys.
Bye.